story goes, the Gilded Age was printed on the manifest. A floating palace, maiden voyage, Morgan's grandest canvas yet. Asked the Guggenheim and Straits of border when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Yeah. Now JP begged his pardon at the dock, his help was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. Yeah. But I only deal in legends, so I read you what's undoubted. 20 bucks from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men on a midnight rail car, first names only, curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis, and the dynasties that built the dawn. 9 days on an island, wrote the rules for every dollar after. And your great-grandfather's paycheck was the first line of the chapter. Oh, they can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth, the daily stack. Where you learn the game, the daily stack. 12:30 on the dot and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack. Now listen, 1933, they came for grandma's wedding ring. A signature, no soldiers made the holding go to felony. Paid you 20, price of 35 before the ink was drying. That's a third of every savings account gone without them trying. Then your grandfather worked one job and bought a house and fed a family. One income, one pension, one handshake, that's the anatomy. To Nixon on a Sunday, cut the anchor, called it temporary. 55 years building in the worst still in the dictionary. Every going on the credit card, a trillion in the desert. No buying drives and no bake sales, just your purchasing dismembered. You've been running on a treadmill that they tilt a little steeper. Work is real, but money's fiction, and the fiction's getting cheaper. They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth, the daily stack. Where you learn the game, the daily stack. 12:30 on the dot and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack. 2020, here's a trillion, here's another, watch it flying. 40 cents of every dollar bone while businesses were dying. Then they blamed your empty grocery cart on weather and on shipping. Called inflation transitory while your steak dinner went missing. The money broke before you did nothing wrong. Who believe her? You were told to work and save and they debased it with a fever. 37 trillion owing interest eating up the table. Every empire prince is ending, that's the oldest human fable. So block zero hitting January, answer to a century. Chancellor on brink of bed, I stitched in code and effigy. They took the gold with paper, but this covenant won't fold. 21 million fixed forever, that's the new immortal goal. They came for the gold with a signature. They'll come for the paper too. But some things can't be confiscated. And baby, I'm saving mine for you. So this is for the single mother watching groceries doubling. And the young man priced from housing while the pundits call it grumbling. It's not your fault, it's the designer ledgers rigged involved it. But there's an exit door in cyberspace, they never can assault it. They had 6 men in a train car, we got nodes in every nation. From the blinds to the having, this is peaceful confiscation. Prove salvation, fix the money, fix the world, I say it till I'm breathless. 12:30 every week, they come to stack the truth relentless. They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth, the daily stack. Where you learn the game, the daily stack. 12:30 on the dot and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack. I'll be sitting on the stack.
We need a, there we go. There we go. We are back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Stack. Today is Tuesday, July 28th. We got my main man back, father of trades, and a few big stories that we'll get into today, as well as talking about a massive implications here with Fermi potentially. FRMI defending your stock. This one's a big one today, Microsoft. So it will be an interesting one to debate. Maybe it's going back to rippy mode. We shall see. But the big story here is AI trade is getting smoked. Micron, SanDisk were down pretty massive. Korea's cratered, I think, 11%. So SK Hynix, Samsung both got wrecked. NASDAQ is knocking on correction territory. So the market's finally asking this question, does AI spending actually produce a return, or is it circular money just moving between NVIDIA, OpenAI, and everyone else funding this? And did want to bring up, too, before we jump in here, the tweet of the day by Michael Sakand. Maybe I clicked out of that. I will find it. I'll just tell you what it said. It said basically, isn't it funny that the AI sell-off is happening and the flight to safety is now all of these massive Mag 7s that have invested, I think you said over $1 trillion in total for AI. So welcome back, dude. I know you were not feeling well last week, so it's good to have you back in the booth. Lots to talk
glad
about
to
today,
be back, brother. Glad to be back, especially for such a big day with the rate decisions coming tomorrow. We have a lot of Mag 7 earnings that are going to be happening, between tomorrow and the following day on Thursday, and really going to see what tech's been up to this last quarter, right? As far as spending and earning. So yeah, very exciting day. Very exciting day.
How much do you think of the sell-off is, war with Iran versus, there's been a lot of rumors that we're going to actually raise rates. And then we also have Mag 7, the most of them coming up here as well, starting tomorrow.
So I don't think that a lot of the sell-off is related to Iran, and here's why, right? So when we are looking at oil, and I can actually share my screen.
Yeah,
Give me just a sec. Let me get this pulled up. I have so many windows open. There we go. Okay, share screen. And we are going to look at this tab right here. So when we are looking at oil, we're seeing that it had a little bit of a resurgence, right? And it's still sitting at a relatively elevated level, right? The normal baseline for a long time was somewhere between basically like 55 up to pretty much where we are now. The only real exception to that was coming off of like the back of COVID, right? Everything really, really spiked up. Initially, we saw a big drop as people weren't doing anything. And then we had supply chain issues, which caused a massive euphoric push to the upside. We're kind of sitting like right at the middle of that range right now. So I don't think that it's related to the war in Iran, because if it was, then I think that we would see oil just absolutely flying, because people would be, panicked and afraid of the oil prices. So that doesn't seem to be like the big driver right now. Now, interest rates. There is going to be, as we mentioned, the rate decision is coming out tomorrow, as well as FOMC meeting minutes. And then we get to go see the cursed boy, Kevin Warsh, talk in his presser. And, I think that there's a really interesting kind of situation unfolding. So I have been putting myself on the record as thinking that, I think that rates are going to be held. However, the interest rate swap market has been differing in opinion a little bit. So the interest rate swaps are pricing in about a 40% chance of a rate hike, as well as Citadel Securities talked to Bloomberg yesterday, and their head of macro trends said that he expects a surprise rate hike. Now, this is interesting because if anything, I would have expected the rate hike, earlier in the year, towards the beginning of the year, when inflation was out of control, and the job market was relatively steady. So now with inflation, starting to come down, and we got that really good last CPI print. GDP has been trailing up. Inflation's been trailing down, with again, like a massive print on the last one, to the downside. and the jobs market's been holding up pretty steady. So generally, when you're raising rates, you are harming the job market and, kind of lessening the effects of inflation, right? You're dampening inflation, but also dampening the job market. And right now, it just seems like a really strange time to do that. Again, if anything, would have expected it at the beginning of the year. In fact, I did expect it at the beginning of the year, and it just never materialized. So, going into this, it's hard to say, just because generally the day before the rate announcement, right, we don't normally see so much indecision in the interest rate swap market. So there is a bit of like this situation's a little bit of an outlier in that way, but it's not necessarily, indicative of, oh, for sure, rates are going up. It's a really interesting situation with that. Now, I think the big driver of this sell-off is it's big tech capital expenditures, right? It's all of the spending, setting up these data centers, setting up these big cloud programs, training LLMs, right? Paying for the energy that it costs to be able to do any of it. So I think that is the big driver. And I think that a lot of people are getting really nervous about the incredible amount of spending, but haven't seen a return on investment yet. So let me ask, what is your take on that, on the spending for AI? Before I share my how do you feel?
I mean, I talked about this a little bit yesterday. I think I'm seeing incremental, right? Like for me, I'm 10xing myself as like an individual with AI. I have a small business where I have a podcast and we have 21 rates. And so with the 2 to 3 person team, we now have a 15 person team. Like the output in which we're putting out feels like extrapolated. Now, I think a lot of, and I have folks that I know that are, consultants with these big companies, and it takes time. You go into Amazon, they have a lot more to lose if they trip up, right? And so I think some of these bigger companies, and Microsoft, I know, went really heavy into this 2 to 3 years ago. I was having dinner with someone from Microsoft, and they said they're all using it. They're all feeling like they're 10xing. You mentioned like the job markets too. What I talked about yesterday is like, this is not necessarily 08, but you talk to, and I don't talk to a lot of college seniors here, but from what I've seen, it's like the interns, the amount of new hires that they're needing, I think that's starting to slow down because the people that are in the seat are now able to do the work of an analyst, right? So maybe like an MD that used to send something off to some 24-year-old kid now can just spin it up in 2 seconds and figure it out themselves, right? And so I think we're going to see, my gut feeling is that we're going to see a lot of slowing of hiring overall. Some of those job numbers, I think, over the years, I've realized don't pay too much attention to them because they factor in a lot of, jobs that are not in your seat, desk jobs. They're maybe working for Uber or DoorDash, things like that. Also with the CPI, like those numbers change, the inputs change too. So you got to like really think about some of that because they want to paint the best picture and they may not be looking at like true inflation. So we got to bring, we actually had the founder of Trueflation on, which was quite interesting to take a look at like what it's actually at. Going back to your question though, I think, I think in my conversations, we haven't seen the results of this quite yet. But very much like the internet boom, I talked about this too with pets.com, that's always the one that gets thrown under the bus.
Of course.
There's also been Amazon, Google, all of these massive, now the biggest companies in the world came out of that. So I think we're seeing that initial excitement, and then it's like, holy shit, we're not seeing the results of all these expenditures right now. But then I think it's going to go right back up, and we're going to start to see some of that. So maybe that's where the stage in which we're at today. And I'm curious too, you'd think with all this capital expenditures, the downstream would pick up. So like Nebius and things like that, if they're spending money, where's that money going to downstream for some of these other AI companies? But it feels like the whole AI trade is going underwater right now. I was going to ask you if you think this is just like a small blip, and we, you zoom out, it's going to look like nothing. or you think this is like the start of something more nefarious, like the canary in the coal mine?
See, and I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that. And as far as I guess the first thing that I want to address is that I am seeing a lot of those downstream effects. The thing is when it comes to memory and semis in particular, those downstream effects were already priced in.
Right.
I mean, memory has been on an absolute tear this year. They are limited on their production capacity. They can't really just expand it quickly. I mean, getting a new factory online is going to take 2 years, a massive capital expenditure. And it's hard to say whether, you're still going to have that same demand that we're seeing currently 2 or 3 years from now. I mean, that's an extremely hard thing to gauge. So I don't really blame them being like Micron, SanDisk, and Seagate for kind of being a little bit hesitant to expand so much. We did see that SK Hynix, the entire reason for their offering to the US markets was to get access to capital in order to expand production.
Yep.
So they're anticipating that it's going to take about 2 years, and they are going to get they're going to get that new facility online. So it's really, really interesting to me, that we're seeing all of this fear when the demand seems to be holding up very, very strongly. I mean, if we look at, for instance, the recent contracts that were awarded to Iris Energy, that's ticker IREN, and Hut 8, which is ticker HUT, we see that there is tremendous demand for data centers still. I mean, this demand isn't slowing. If anything, it's just been picking up pace. The question would be is how much of this kind of forward-looking growth has already been priced into these stocks. And in some of them, it absolutely has. I mean, Micron, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you got to look at the PE, right? The PE is below 10, the PE. That's a good gauge, like at a glance, but it doesn't really tell you the full picture, right? Which is that, of course, they're going to have massive sales when their shelves got cleaned off completely. But now they have a big backlog and they're struggling to chew through it, right? Yep. So is next quarter going to look like that? I don't think so, right? I don't think so, just because they simply don't have the supply on hand to be able to handle all of the incoming demand.
Yeah, I think the winner, like Nvidia, in my mind, is now a beach stock, right? I think like a lot of these bigger companies, Micron's interesting specifically because that Google news that made it drop, I think it was like 6 months ago now. In 2 to 3 years, maybe that becomes true, right? And then maybe they have advanced technology that could beat it. But I don't know. I think we'll see a lot of these, and maybe it's photonics, or maybe it's some of these. There's been so many names that popped because they had .ai, like that .com, the pets.com. I think will happen. I think there's going to be a lot of companies in AI that do fall off, but I do think the winners will win, and they'll win big, right?
Absolutely. And I do want to make a little bit of a delineation between what we're seeing right now and what we saw during the .com era, right? Because when we look back at the .com era, you had a lot of these firms were trading at 500 to 1,000 PE, right? Like these were businesses that literally did nothing but burn money. They didn't ever end up actually having products. They weren't deploying anything. They had no real revenue source. And they were paying their CEOs exorbitant salaries. And when we look at some AI companies, we can see that, but the vast majority of them are producing some kind of revenue, right? And I don't mean just like specifically like the software side, right? I'm talking about like the entire ecosystem. So we're talking about data centers, we're talking about energy suppliers, right? Like even if they aren't turning a profit quite yet, the revenue is still there, which means the demand is still there. And if it wasn't for aggressive expansion, I think you would see the profits. But right now there is just so much unmet demand that it's hard to really draw a comparison to the .com era. In addition to that, what I think we need to realize is that quantitative easing and the printing of money has accelerated dramatically since then. I mean, you know, half of all the dollars in circulation have been printed in the last 5.5 years.
It's in our song. I think it's 40%
it's literally
of all dollars.
it's in our intro song, right?
Yeah.
So when you're seeing that, you know, we have to be able to take a look at it, like, you know, the value of these companies versus like what is the value of the dollar right now.
Yeah.
And the money printer was on back then, but it wasn't anything remotely close to what it is now. So when, you know, more dollars are being printed, the value of the companies doesn't necessarily change, but the dollar amount that we measure that value in increases, right? Because the dollar is now worth less. So
no, it's a great point. I mean, we talked, actually, we had a Varda on, who's 15 years in macro. She was talking about this exact same thing yesterday, where it's like, this is Google, this is, you know, Amazon, that's you know, they have tremendous amounts of revenue from, you know, and they're basically like ETFs, as we've discussed in the past, right? So like those companies are fortresses, where before the .com era, those were like jet skis trying to make big moves, where they didn't have the revenue to back up all of these expenses right out the gate. So I agree. I do think it is, but, you know, to my point earlier, I guess, like, some of the small companies are those .com companies. Maybe that,
for sure.
that don't.
I mean,
so
you had what was that shoe company? Allbirds, right?
Allbirds, that was crazy.
Allbirds AI, like that is dead on, you know, late 90s .com era.
Did that come all the way back down?
I bet it did. I haven't been watching, you know, I'm very uninterested in, if you can't figure out how to make money making shoes, then I have no faith that you can execute, you know, basically building an AI platform.
It has come all the way back down.
That seems right.
That would have been the easiest short. I'm surprised I didn't do it. They're also called Smartbird now. I didn't realize that they officially completely rebranded to Smartbird. Look at this chart.
You can't make this up, brother. You can't make this up. It's so funny.
Pull this in. So those are the names that I'm talking about that I think will, you know, as we see, come down pretty significantly.
And I agree, right? I agree with that. That absolutely makes sense. That absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not conflicted here with Nebius. I'm surprised the price has come down so much, but I'm still holding. I said to myself, I'm not gonna play around with that one, but we shall find out. August 6th is a big day here for their earnings, to see if we got some new customers. One of the companies we brought up last week was Fermi, that in my mind could fit that description. They don't have a ton of revenue. I think it's zero today.
They have none. They're pre-revenue.
Yeah, they're pre-revenue today. I don't know if you have anything to show for that, but you brought up a really good point that you went through the filings. You're doing the work that a lot of people do not do. Go through those filings, and I want you to bring up that news story, because that is pretty wild.
So there's a really weird thing that happened. And here, if you can, let me just quickly swap the screen that I'm sharing. Give me just a second, and I'll share what I'm looking at here. So this is something that I had posted for my Discord, and basically, so they recently promoted a new COO, and this COO has been with the company for a while, right? It's internal promotion. And this was filed Thursday night after the market closed. Okay, so basically we could call it Friday, right? Because that was the first trading day that this was in effect. And there is a performance award for getting the first tenant signed. Now, if you want to look at the date, right? The date that you know, this expires on, basically, is July 31st. So after July 31st of this year, that is, by the way, this Friday, if a deal has not been made and a tenant is not signed up, then half of the COO's basically restricted stock units, right, the RSUs, are going to be forfeit. Now, what I want to point out here is that this is highly unusual. So in my 13 and a half years of experience here, and I actually reached out to a buddy of mine that runs a fund that has a little bit more than 40 years of experience. And, you know, I asked him, I was like, you know, this weekend, I was like, have you ever seen anything like this? And he was like, never, not once. Because what you have to realize is that for something like this to go through, okay, it needs to run through HR. It has to run through legal. It has to normally run through consultants that make sure that everything is, you know, competitive as far as like, you know, versus its peers, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have to pay to get it filed, and you have to go deal with the SEC and file with the SEC. So this is a tremendous amount of work, and it would seem very strange to me to put this out, right, to expire in a week if you think that it is not going to be hit. Like, the market would view this as a total and huge miss, and you know, I don't think that it would look good, right? Number one. And you know, number two, it just seems very strange to go through all that work just to kind of fuck someone over right as they're kind of starting in their new role. So what this feels more like to me is that the deal is probably already done, right? And this is opinion, this is speculation, but it feels like the deal is already done and it just hasn't been officially signed, right? The ink is not on the paper yet, but everything else has been printed. Generally with these comp packages, you know, these go out like 3 to 5 years. So we have one that's expiring in 3 days, and then the other one is expiring at the end of this year, right? Where it's the same thing. If you can't get the second tenant by the end of the year, then you're forfeiting half of your RSUs.
This is pretty crazy. I'm looking.
Oh, you kind of glitched out a little bit there. Give Avi a second. He's going to be right back. He's going to be right back. He's just bugged right now. He has too many windows open. But I'm excited to hear his thoughts on this, because again, this is something that is highly unusual. That you know, again, we don't really see every day, right? It's wild to see something that is normally years out being pushed to, you know, a week out. Like, this isn't standard. Okay, this is very unusual. And I pulled this directly from the Edgar filings on the SEC site, right? So all of this is right there. And I find it really interesting, right? I find it really, really interesting. Yeah. So I guess while we're waiting on Avi to get back and get everything fixed up, we could talk about a little bit of the rest of the news. Oh, there he is. He has 2 windows now. We have 2 Avis.
Let's see. There's 2 of me.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened. That was weird.
There is 2 of me. Yeah, my internet must have gone out because I just saw my. I have a Google Home next to my desk, and that thing just went out. So I'm streaming in from my phone, so it may not be that good. Here,
That's okay. That's okay.
Where did I leave off?
So you left off. You were talking about how the timing was interesting.
Yeah. So I was just checking on Twitter. So it seems like people have caught wind of this now. Do you think it's, you know, I'm not going to say a handful of people on Twitter will move the market, of course, but do you think that is priced into any capacity? Like, if we know about it,
it sure doesn't seem that way. Because, you know, what you have to realize is that we are, and in fact, if anything, it's sold off today. Right, yeah, true. Which is really interesting. There potentially is an argument to be made that, you know, some liquidity is being generated.
But that could be the broader market now, like
exactly right, and it's the broader market. So I'm sharing the chart right now, and it could also be due to the fact that there is, you know, there's a massive call wall that existed $7. So should price close like meaningfully above $7, right, which it did for the last 2 days, right, but not today. So far, and I don't think that it will. but should it close meaningfully above $7 and sustain that level for several days, then what you should see is a lot of dealer hedging, right? People, firms that sold those calls off, right? Generally market makers that sold a bunch of those calls, and they are, generally the hedge for that is going to be buying shares. So I would expect to see a lot of big buys hitting the tape the second that we can truly say that we have found support, say maybe above like 730 or so. Right.
I don't know if you saw this. Tomorrow it lists on the London Stock Exchange as well. Tomorrow morning. It looks like.
So that's just an opportunity for that's an opportunity to get a little bit more cash and obviously a little bit more liquidity. And what else I find really interesting is that last week the first 3 turbines from Siemens showed up, right? And these things are Goliath. I mean, they are huge turbines. So I think that this shows that progress is being made at the site. And, they run off natural gas, which, I actually do have some maps that I was planning on pulling up and kind of showing you exactly what I'm talking about.
Conspiracy Ava is going in full effect here. I'm checking to see here. I'll let me bring that back and then show me where the maps are. I'm looking to see who is through campaign dollars behind Rick Perry. See if there's any companies. Like, I guess, who do you think is like rumored to be the deal? I saw Amazon. I don't know if that's
so I don't know who it would be, right? I think that the needs of all of these companies are pretty similar, and I think that any of them could benefit from this. So this first image I have up, just making sure that's no worries. Just let me know when it's ready.
You're good.
So I'm sharing my whole screen. Okay. So the first image I have pulled up, this is Amarillo, right? So basically this is the closest kind of town, right? I can't say city because it's tiny, right? If you've ever been here, there's fucking nothing there. This whole area has nothing here. Okay. So you have this little town, and then right outside of it, up here in this area, right, is where Project Matador is located. So when we're looking at that, right, we could see that where they're building this is pretty much like right here. Okay. Now this is basically, I mean, it's a little bit dated, right? This map is from 1997, but largely everything here kind of looks the same. Now, the place where they're choosing to build this is sitting right on top of the Ogallala Aquifer, which is one of the largest in North America. And specifically, they're building it right on this choke point before it can go down into New Mexico and a little bit deeper into Texas. Now, there was like a collapse from an earthquake that happened here that kind of cut off the rest of this aquifer. So down here wouldn't be a good place to build anyways, if you need access to water, just because that water is going to be drying up and it's not replenishing. Up here, however, it is replenishing. And when we are looking at like the geography of this area, we could say that Kansas, Oklahoma, right, this little part that goes through Oklahoma on the panhandle, and in the Texas panhandle, they are all a lot lower than the very mountainous Nebraska, Colorado, South Dakota, Wyoming, right? So this is higher elevation. This is lower elevation. Water moves along the path of least resistance and is generally going to move along with gravity. So, they're in this prime spot to be able to do
due diligence, bro.
Yeah. Well, the geography matters in these, right? I mean, we have to think about every single facet, right? And when I see where they've positioned themselves as far as like water, I mean, access to water is a big deal. So they're in a really good spot for it. The people that live in that area had tried to basically get this stopped, and the Texas government just literally did not listen. Like, they didn't even listen to the arguments. They just basically put it off and delayed it and threw it off.
If you guys did not hear, was it last 2 weeks ago? We were talking in depth about this stock, and Rick Perry, the former governor of Texas, is leading the charge here. So
yeah,
he's got some ammunition in the government still, and some friends.
And it's also really interesting because one of the big things that we saw was that the largest individual shareholder, the former CEO, his name's Toby. And Toby basically is like a big man child, is how I view him, right? And it seems like the reason that he has been fighting this proxy fight is because he wants to sell the company. A little bit of a tangent here, right? They are structured as a real estate investment trust. The rules of a REIT say basically that outside of like the first year and a half of their existence, that no one single person may own directly or indirectly more than 10% of the REIT, right? He is over that percentage. So fairly soon, he's going to have to divest, right? And it's going to be forced, right? He's going to be forced to divest. So I think that one of the reasons that he's been fighting so much is because he wants to just outright sell the company and not have to divest anything, right? And it seems like everyone else is very uninterested in doing it. They want to go it alone. They want to find the tenants, and they want to actually run this business. So he basically had set up, he was suing for control of the company and control of the board. And about an hour before those hearings were scheduled to begin, the judge recused himself, right? Which we talked about, I think, 2 weeks ago on this podcast. So, that's really interesting. Is it Rick Perry related? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting is what I'll leave it at, right? Because that essentially doesn't give Toby enough time to get it rescheduled, to get a new judge seated prior to, when he would need these arguments to play out. Okay. So that's the water, right? Here I have another little picture of the water. So we could see that this area that I circled right here, again, that's pretty much right where it is, right at this choke point. We could see that the water change here has been really, really drastic, right? It's been declining by more than 150 feet over the last few years. And up here, it's pretty stable, right? I mean, we've been in a little bit of a drought, but this isn't severe like it is down here, right? So it's in a pretty good spot as far as like all the water's concerned. Now, another big piece of this is where all the natural gas pipelines currently exist. So when we're looking in this area, we can see that there is a large amount of existing infrastructure for the gathering and the transmission or transportation of natural gas that rest in this area. Fermi very intentionally placed Project Matador in the middle of all that. And then if we want to look at where the natural gas exists, these red areas, right? These red areas are basically areas where there is really, really heavy natural gas concentration. Okay. So again, above and a little bit to the right of Amarillo, right? A little northeast of it, right here in the same area, very, very heavy natural gas deposits. So what I find interesting about all this, right? What I find interesting about all of this is that you have a campus, right, where basically these big hyperscalers, these big tech companies can come in, they can pay, they can lease out basically the area. Water and energy are provided. They're setting up a private power grid, which is something that Texas has really been pushing for data centers to do anyways, is to be on their own power grids. That's expected to be signed into law. Governor Abbott has been very, very vocal about wanting this done. And sorry, still have a little tiny bit from the cold last week.
You're good.
So they've been very, very clear about wanting this done. And this kind of satisfies all of that, where again, these big hyperscalers can come in, they supply their own hardware, and all of the electricity, right, all the power and all of the water for cooling are kind of built in. Now, there's a really interesting little thing about kind of like an interesting relationship between the fracking and all of the groundwater that are there, right? So when I am looking at this, I see that you are able to frack, right? They have the permits to be able to frack and to basically pull natural gas from the ground. And a lot of times the water, right, after that's been done, it's contaminated with a lot of like rare earth, things that aren't good for us, but are actually pretty useful in general. And also like a lot of corrosive materials. So when we are thinking about water for cooling purposes, okay, it doesn't need to be potable, right? It doesn't need to be like good for human consumption. Humans aren't drinking it. What it does need, right, is it does need to have all of the corrosive materials taken out. However, once you take those corrosive materials out, and again, the reason is just so you don't fuck up all of your equipment that you're using to basically move this water around to cool your data centers, right? Once you take those corrosive materials out, you can essentially reuse the non-potable water from the fracking operations. So it all just feeds into itself, and it's all located in one spot. And Fermi built Project Matador right on that one spot. So like there are just so many things that are kind of sending up like these alarms in my head. And even though the price, it fell off during an offering, it's been kind of struggling a little bit. There was a big push on Friday following that filing that we just discussed. And it's kind of sold off since, right?
Why do you think, just to play devil's advocate, why do you think Toby, who is the biggest shareholder, I know that there was like infighting kind of within the organization. Do you think it's more that, or do you think, I mean, he would have all of this information, my assumption, if you have
I think a lot of it is to do with, I guess that there's two ways to view it, right? And I think that it's probably likely a combination of both. Is number one, he's an immature man-child, right? So by all accounts, from prospective clients, from the rest of the board, he was extremely difficult to work with. He cost them potential relationships with clients because of the way that he acted and the way that he behaved. He wasn't pleasant to work with or for. So that's number one, right? Is just, it's a personality defect. And we've seen that come through with him being unable to let this go. Yeah. And number two, probably the bigger reason is what I was talking about when you were disconnected, right? Which is that it's a real estate investment trust, which means that he is going to be forced to divest down to that 10% threshold, a year and a half after launching, basically. And that is coming up very rapidly. So if I were in his shoes, I wouldn't want to be forced to divest, potentially when it's sitting in like a $6 to $10 range. I would probably prefer to sell the entire business at a premium and get to walk away with all of it, right? But he's legally going to have to divest as it currently stands because of the way this business is structured as a REIT.
So with this deadline looming for the RSUs, this is going to be on Friday. How are you playing, not financial advice for everyone listening, but like personally, how would you play something like this? Is it with options, or are you still mostly in equity?
So for me, it is largely options. I've had an existing, or I guess rather two existing positions for January of 2027 for that monthly OPEX in January that are $6 calls and $10 calls. A little bit more concentrated in the $6 calls, just because they are safe. They're safer, and they have a higher delta already kind of baked into it. The $10 calls have a lot of implied volatility. I mean, the 6 do too, but the 10 especially do, just because they're 5 months out and relatively deep out of the money right now. So I've had that existing position, and then when I saw that filing come through, I didn't do anything on Friday, but then yesterday I ended up loading into a bunch of $8 calls for August 21st, because my thinking is, number one, I don't want to have to fight extreme theta burn like you get in the last 2 weeks of an options life cycle, right? That means that you have to have a really strong move in your favor for the delta and the gamma to basically counteract that loss of theta value, right? So, I chose to go about 3 weeks out in time, right? 3.5 weeks. And also, even if the deal is signed, let's say that it's signed today, it doesn't have to be PR'd today. It doesn't even have to be PR'd this week. The deal could be signed and PR'd the following week. The deal could be signed and then PR'd on their earnings report, which is 16 days from now, right? So a little bit over 2 weeks. So I think that they would be PRing it before earnings, I would imagine, but I don't want to get caught into this trap of like, oh, well, the client, the tenant has to be signed by Friday. So, I'm putting it all on Friday. Like that doesn't make sense to me. I would rather take the more safe approach and look out a little bit further in time, but I don't want to like try to wait for the perfect opportunity to buy calls for next week because all of this might have already happened by then, right?
And do you think if it doesn't happen, are those zero? Are you expecting zero? Kind of is this a gamble you're playing, or?
Yeah, so those August ones would die.
Clearly,
those August ones would just die. That's exactly how this would happen. So I'm basically treating this as like an informed. I like to call them like informed lottery tickets, right?
There you go.
But
that's how I feel every Sunday betting on football.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Where you think like, oh well, we could see XYZ team do good because their quarterback's been on fire, whatever the case is. Yeah. Right. And that's kind of how this feels. The majority of the position again is for January of 2027, because I suspect that they will have 1 to 2 tenants by that time, and they should have some contracts that give us like a reliable revenue source to count on going forward.
How much capacity do they have?
So right now it's none. Right now, it's none.
Sorry. How much will they have once it's built out? If they
so their plan is by, I believe, 2032 to be able to produce 15 gigawatts of power across a 7,500 acre campus for data centers.
These things are massive. If no one's ever absolutely seen these data centers, I mean, it's like the one in Utah. How much was that? Do you know the Mr. Wonderful, what he's trying to build out there?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it was something like 6,000 acres.
Okay.
So
this
like
is even bigger?
It's pretty big. So this is bigger. Yeah. When this is completely built out, it is going to be like either the first or the second largest on the continent.
Okay.
So this is a really ambitious build.
2030. What are we looking at? Like, what if everything executes properly?
If everything executes properly, again, this is 100% speculation for anyone listening, but if everything is executed properly by 2030, I could easily see this stock being $60 plus.
Wow. What's the more realistic in your view? Like, what would you think?
60.
You're going all in. This will be a clip. 2030. Save this clip.
I feel like, save it and come back and tag us and let us know if we're geniuses or if we're stupid.
We'll just delete our account if we're wrong.
Or we'll just delete the exactly right.
Up a new one. New podcast. We don't know who those guys were.
Oh, we call it the daily rack. Anyways.
We used to joke with pounding the table. Would be pounding our face in when the market's turned and all the small caps got wrecked. No, I like the upside. You've clearly done, more than research than most people have. Getting down to the actual like land masses and looking that deep.
Well, we have to, right? We have to understand what advantages there are, because you can't just arbitrarily place these things, right? You need access to power, you need access to water. Like there are a lot of prerequisites to being able to even begin construction here.
Mm-hmm.
right?
How did
To
Rick Perry
being
get
able to
involved with
operate it.
this? Like, what stage did Rick Perry get involved?
The very beginning.
No,
He's
so
one of the he's one of the co-founders.
Got it. Okay.
It's
Rick.
It's Rick Perry, his son Griffin Perry, together, right? Own basically like an investment firm, and that was one of the original investors into this. He's one of the co-founders, and then along with Toby.
How would you play these options? Let's say it does pop up to 10. Would you convert those then? Or, I guess even like,
so what I would be doing, let's say that it gets up to 10. Let's say that it gets up to 10 by like maybe October, right? Or are you talking about the shorter term or the longer term ones?
Let's do both.
Let's do both. Okay.
The shorter ones.
So let's say with the shorter term options, right, that this thing goes to 10. Basically, because I have the longer term ones, I would just be selling them.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
I would just be selling them when I see the buyers stop stepping in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when I see that momentum slow and the momentum is no longer outpacing the theta decay, then that's where I would sell them. And just take the gains from the call options. Again, right, $8. So if it goes to 10, I mean, these things are going to be, they're going to have $200 of intrinsic value just off of the I guess like the delta, right, the share price that's going to be baked in. Plus any kind of like time value.
Very different stock, but this for some reason popped up in my head when I bought Leaps. We brought on the CEO of Rocket Lab, so Peter Beck, years ago, and it was at I think it was like $2 or $3. I bought $7 call Leaps, and the thing went up to, I think it was in like the 40s by the time I sold it, and I was just like, holy shit, like this is. But it's so fun to hold on to those things because they just consistently.
Oh God, dude, the swings are huge. It's funny because like when I'm in a situation like that, like let's say for just a sheer example, right, that Fermi goes to 20 by the end of the year. What I would probably do is sell off some of those $10 calls, and I would use the proceeds from selling the $10 calls to exercise the $6 ones. And I would probably just sit on the shares. Like that's what I did with Ondis, right? It was about like 280. I bought $3 calls for like 44 cents a piece, right? That were out in January. I think I bought them in like May of 25 for January 26. And, it was about $11 by the time they expired. So I just exercised them, and I've been holding onto shares at 324 for the last almost 7 months now. So
this will be a fun one to watch.
I think so too.
I'm on some those 821s, so I'm excited about it. Let's let it.
Let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens.
We got big news to transition. If you want to pull up Microsoft, so
absolutely.
I don't know if this will be a traditional defend your stock here with Microsoft, because I have a famous tweet said, Microsoft, don't you just want to go to the beach for 5 years? No, you want to go to sleep for 5 years and just hold on to Microsoft. And after that tweet, it went on a crazy run. Microsoft, behemoth, they're not a small cap that I can, play the bear case on like crazy. So what do you love about them? I think this is like I don't know how often this happens, but I'm sure it happens, historically. But with FOMC coming tomorrow, the Fed's going to talk same day as their earnings. Got a little green on the screen today, which is
it's nice. It's nice.
So some green here.
Right now, Microsoft is sitting number one from like a valuation perspective, right? If we're talking about like a fundamental valuation, they are trading at what I believe to be a really big, a really deep discount, right? The value trader in me and the value investor absolutely loves this because it's not very often that you can take a stock like Microsoft and buy it at anywhere sub 20 forward earnings, right? So number one, I love it because it's fundamentally cheap. We have seen tremendous growth and basically upwards guidance, right, for specifically Azure, which is like the biggest one, right? That's their biggest segment at the moment. and also for Microsoft Office, which is just a steady, reliable income stream, same as their operating system, right? But Microsoft Azure is really, really, really huge. Yeah, it grew. So it grew over 40%. I think it's like 41% is actually what I think it was, quarter over quarter. And that kind of growth is, I'm expecting it to be sustained, right? I don't think that growth is going to show any signs of slowing as we begin to rely more on like clouds, right, than ever.
How fun would that be if Microsoft took the Fermi deal?
Oh, brother, I would be happy on both ends, brother. I'd be happy on both ends.
Nailing it. One thing I pulled up some stats here too. So Copilot, one thing Microsoft's just incredible at, since they're on everyone's computer, they can give away. I remember this happened with Slack. They were giving away Microsoft Teams for free, and then they slowly would raise those prices. Same thing here. Copilot has over 20 million paid seats now, up 250% year on year for their AI. And I think they were giving that away for free. I could be wrong on that, but
they were.
Similar thing. It's like a drug dealer. You know,
I was about to say, bro, it's like crack, right? Your first hit's free because we know you're going to come back, right?
Right.
So,
you start using it. I mean, this happened with me with Claude and ChatGPT.
Well,
I'm paying for all of these right now.
It's very interesting because this is something that Palantir did, right? That is what I really loved about Palantir and their sales model, because basically what Alex Karp had Palantir doing is they would go out and give out the base model for free. And they would let these companies try it, use it, see the efficiency boost. And then after, they had used it for a while, they would come back and they'd be like, oh, hey, could you customize it to do this? How about this? How about that? Can it do this? And then that's when Palantir would say, okay, but that's going to cost you. And they got so many corporate clients doing that. So I think that when you're looking at that as a business model, the only real question is the product good? Because if the product's bad, then
is Copilot good?
All the money on.
I don't know a lot of people that use it.
I don't know a lot of people that use it, but it stands to reason, right, that at least the marketing tactic is good.
Yeah. I won't say the bank, but I have someone I know that was on Copilot. Slight bear case. This could be just a one-off story, but they're also buying Claude for their team now because they were all using Copilot, and then they've now also added.
Well, it's funny because like all of the different AI platforms are good at different things, right?
Yeah.
Like Claude is very, very good, for coding. ChatGPT is really good for having a conversation with, right? So different models are good at different things.
Yeah, and they keep jumping each other. I mean, like Codex is. I was on ChatGPT. That was like my infancy where I was like, oh, make this email better. Then I went to Claude and I was like, holy shit! Like this feels like more conversational actually for me.
Yeah.
And then ChatGPT, the images are incredible now. So
if
you want
absolutely.
Like a corporate deck, like I go to ChatGPT for that. And they keep jumping each other, right? And then we saw with Kimmy too. I think that was part of this AI drop. Is from the LLM. It
was. So it's funny that you mentioned that, right? Because that is something that we probably should have mentioned when we were talking about the reasons for this drop.
Yeah.
And all that I can draw a parallel to there is, do you remember when DeepSeek was supposed to destroy our entire economy? Like people act
the same thing
like
happened with
China doesn't lie.
They realized that they stole all that stuff from Anthropic.
Yeah.
So it is the other news. I don't know if you saw this. It was like I hate to make a Holocaust analogy, but they were burning books. I don't know if you basically they're destroying all these old books. Anthropic is, and I think a lot of these LLMs are. They're ripping off the back of these books and basically destroying like historical books to upload them up to the LLMs.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the reason for the drop, but I made a joke about that on my Twitter. I was
but there was a case that Anthropic just lost, I believe, at the end of last week, where they are they are on the hook to pay $1.5 billion to a group of authors who alleged, and at this point, right, it's been proven in court of law. The court, it was a San Francisco circuit judge that ended up siding with the group of authors, saying that their books had been misused and without any kind of compensation given to the authors for training of Claude.
Yeah.
Right. So,
well, same thing with Reddit too. Reddit.
I was about to say Reddit. That one hasn't closed yet, but
right.
It's funny because I use that as part of my bull case for Reddit.
Totally.
Right.
Like we've been talking about that on with Joey's show, but
mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean that's the same thing. I mean, but it reminds me of banks where it's like they do it with the insurance, like okay, we'll get a little slap on the wrist, because banks constantly are paying fines for little things, but the amount of money that they made,
it's kind of the cost of it's the cost of doing business, right? It's baked into the business model. Yeah. Because that if you can go and basically rob $1 billion, right, from people, you could rob them blind, and you're only going to have to pay a $10 million fine, then you would do that over and over and over again as a business, because why would you not? If the punishment is not equal to or greater than the crime,
mm-hmm.
then it is simply a fee.
Now, going back to Microsoft here, and I agree with you on that, which is crazy, but like your thesis with FRMI, I liked when you said you follow the crooks, and I like
the good criminals, man. I like the good criminals. That's why I like Goldman Sachs so much, man. It's because they're fucking great at what they do. Anyways, go on.
Microsoft. So capex, do you think they got helped by Google kind of like soften the blow that these capexes will explode for the rest of the Mag 7? I think obviously people see similarities there.
I think that it might have softened the blow just a little bit, but I think that really like the majority of the blow softening happened last quarter with Meta.
Yeah, fair.
Right. I think because if we look at Google right now, like here, let me just pull it up real quick. Yeah, if we look at Google right now, they have been rising from that decline, right? Like they had that big gap down, and they have gotten about 60% of it back already. With everything else red, right? These guys are green, right? So we're seeing that they are, and by they I mean pretty much all of the Mag 7 aside from Apple, right? They are going so heavily into AI that they actually have a slightly negative free cash flow, right? Like Microsoft is planning to spend, I think, like 1.75 billion above their free cash flow. But then what we also have to look at is, number one, that this spending doesn't last forever, right? It is spending up front to be able to generate new revenue streams and to compete with their peers, right, going forward. So it's something that they have to do. Imagine, for instance, if Google had never, upgraded from their original server blades, and they said, well, we just want to keep this cash on hand, and we're going to keep our original servers from 1997, and we're never going to do any kind of upgrades on them. Well, it wouldn't be able to handle the traffic that it handles today, right? So that spending, which makes people a little bit panicked, ultimately led to a lot more revenue, right? And a lot more profit. And I feel like AI is very similar in that way. And also, like these companies, they have been making tremendous amounts of free cash flow for years. I mean, their balance sheets could afford to do this for the next, fucking 5 years. Right. Yeah. They could keep the spending up. No problem. And I don't think it's going to take that long. Right. I really don't think it's going to take that long. I think that in a few months, that, this is going to kind of be the new normal.
Mag 7s either. I mean, it's like
absolutely not. I mean, Jensen Huang is a fucking visionary. So, it again, right. Kind of back to the point that I had at the beginning. Like if you are of the opinion that they are wasting money and that AI isn't going to be the future, what you are saying is that random Reddit or StockTwits or X user, the random fucking guy at his desk at home,
Right.
I am smarter than the CEOs and the management team and all of the middle directors and all of the technicians and all of the program developers at every single major data company. And I know the future better than they do, which is probably one of the most insane claims I think a person could make.
Unless they all used AI to help make the decision, and AI, please feed me.
Wouldn't that be funny? That would
Michael
be funny.
Saylor is notorious. He went on record saying like STRC, all these preferred stocks were masterminded by Claude. So he goes in, he's got like 10 screens up and is building all these new financial products around it. And it is interesting. I agree with you though. I'm super bullish AI still. I think we're very much at the infancy. Like how much, how do you value, HTML, like not HTML, like the piping, HTTP, like all the piping behind the internet. Like
it's
valuable
really
is
difficult.
if you put a dollar amount on that,
It's really difficult, especially until you see like what the results start looking like.
Mm-hmm.
But just seeing how far AI has come in the last few years.
Yeah.
And how it is exponentially like kind of building upon itself, right? With the older models helping train and build the current generation models, right? They're literally building their replacements and getting better and better and better with each iteration.
Well, talking about building new replacements too, I see layoffs continuing to happen too, long term.
I do. I just don't think it happens right now, and I think that a lot of like the shift is going to be away from maybe like your office jobs, but you're always going to need people, working at a grocery store, right? You're always going to need people working at a gas station, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's some things you'll always need people for. In fact, when I was working at JP Morgan, one of the biggest things that they made sure to not push like completely digital was the home buying experience, right? So they found that people are much more likely to sign up for a mortgage when they have a person there to answer their questions, as opposed to just having to look it up online.
Yeah.
Right. Like there are some things where the personal touch is needed, right? Yeah. And the customer service is one of them for sure.
I've been looking at a lot of these AI companies, some of the Sierras of the world. There was a company called Happy Robot I was blown away though with the custom. Like Happy Robot had this. They had a YouTube that I didn't have it ready. I'll try to pull it up at some point. But you can't tell. I was listening to two people talk, and it was very hard for me to notice which one was human versus which one was a robot, because they're starting to get personalities to the point where they would cough on the screen. They would like laugh in a normal cadence. Like still to this day, you brought up like JP Morgan Chase. When I called Chase, I had credit card fraud the other day. Theirs is not that good right now. And the big gaps between Delta's was a little messed up too, where you like talk and it would like give a big gap. That gap's going to tighten though, I think, over time. And so I think customer service jobs are going to be tough. If you're used to talking to someone in Philippines have great English, but like sometimes you'll hop on and it's very hard to understand some of these people, right?
Absolutely.
They can make these robots get that personality, start to understand. They're just like 10 times smarter too, for like rebooking a flight, figuring it out. If you say someone died, they can escalate that, try to figure it out really quickly. So it'll be interesting. I agree. Like humans are very resilient people, resilient people, I was going to say. They're very resilient and they find new jobs, right? And there's new industries that will pop up, and that's my hope.
So let me ask you this, because I was having a conversation last Thursday on the other podcast, the one that I run, Midweek Mayhem. I have to have you on at some point for that one too, by the way. But I was talking to my friend Moji, and we were talking about physical AI, and specifically like bipedal humanoid robots. So he's saying that he thinks that within the next 5 years, it's going to be very normal. I say probably the next 10. How long do you think before we have normalized bipedal humanoid robots. I mean, truly the stuff of science fiction, right?
Yeah.
Where they are cleaning for us, they're cooking for us, right? They're working in warehouses for us. How long do you think until we have?
I want to lean closer to your guess here. But like how fast is this stuff moving?
That's the hard
you see
part,
it
right?
at
It's so
conferences right
exponential.
now. They'll have like even at Bitcoin conferences, they have a humanoid. You can totally tell it's like not human, right?
Yeah.
But I do see this world in which, you're already seeing it right now. You go to McDonald's, right?
You've seen the beginning.
You have the screens. Well, the one shift I see for QSR is specifically they'll hire some like really nice person up front. They'll maybe one or two. I remember when I was selling into McDonald's, when I was selling software, I think the date is maybe like 2030, but they don't want to have any employees besides the person at the register, like one person.
Absolutely.
So like all the cooking, all of that will be done by robots. So
absolutely,
I think that's, it'll probably be like back office at first and manufacturing plants. We'll hear, I think the next, we're doing a lot of text still. I think the next iteration of that will be voice. We've talked about other stocks, not on this show, but like VPG and Ouster as well, that are like starting to be the eyes and the fingertips basically to a lot of
I love just as a side note, I love Ouster.
Yeah.
Like, I think Ouster is such a good business. And I also really like shorting the Chinese firm that stole their tech.
Yeah, I think, you saw this. Where was this? And let me find that article.
But Ouster's wonderful.
Was it the Chinese buses? And I think it's like a national defense thing. Chinese buses. I think it was in Norway, I want to say, or Sweden. Sweden or Norway. Let me try to find this article. Maybe it was, here. Norway's testing revealed. This is crazy. So look at this. So I think it's going to be more of a national defense where we probably will not be buying these types of things. Sorry, so Norway tested these
screen. But yeah, go ahead.
Chinese buses inside the mountain, found a foreign SIM card with full kill switch. So like that's a wake up call for some of the robotic stuff that we're thinking about. Just from a national security, you have to probably buy American. Let me close this out because my Wi-Fi is on my phone right now. But like that's interesting to answer your question. Normalized, I'd say you're probably right, closer to 10 years, but that's not that far. That's pretty scary.
It really isn't. Yeah. And it's funny because like, we have like a lot of this younger generation, right? Like kind of like the Gen Z that has been entering into the marketplace, right? Honestly, I know that you've been doing this for a long time too. And I know that you've seen this shift where trading and investing has become so much more normalized than it was. And, to all of you young people out there, what I can tell you is that I know 10 years seems like a long time right now, but if you blink, it's going to be gone. Okay. 10 years in capital markets is not that long of a time. Realize that there are institutions that are holding companies with 20, 30, and 50-year time horizons.
Yeah.
A decade in markets is not that long. It's a long time, but it's not that long.
All you got to do is look at Amazon zoomed out, and Tesla was another one. Like for years, it did stuff, but in the grand scheme of things, it took a while to really get going.
And if you bought Amazon during like the 99 and 2000 bubble, you literally had to wait till 2013 to break even. And then when it hit 2013, you were deep in the money, and it has gone up thousands of % since then.
Yeah,
literally,
you got to hold
thousands
when you have conviction and you're in it. Like that's it's funny because our new generation and like these kids grow up with tablets in their hands. They're so used to instant gratification. So like the investor mindset has shifted where you go online and people will trade things for like a lot of weekly traders, a lot, and myself included. Like you want that instant gratification, and it is hard to hold. But like that's where you make the big bucks, is when you are holding for something for a very long time that you have conviction in, and let it play out. Let the thesis actually play out. got to give a shout out to my boy Dom, who at $20 was pounding the table on. I still have him. I put him in a. I was joking with him, and I said, put a scuba outfit on and do a deep dive into NVIDIA, because he was like, this company is going to be the biggest company in the world, and was adamant about it at $20, and it just like played out exactly how he went through it, and now he's doing very well with it.
NVIDIA was one of my ones where I didn't do that, so
I sold it 60, I think.
Yeah, I sold it 50. So what? Well, I guess like what is now 50, right? After the split. But with NVIDIA,
this was pre-split $20. Sorry. So this was like he made. I won't out him.
Oh, that's a ridiculous
very, very well
amount. Yeah, that's a ridiculous. I mean, that's the modern day price of $2. So yeah, that's incredible. So I ended up getting in at what would be post split $12. Right. It was right after the meme mania had ended. Right. I took all of my winnings from GameStop, and that's where I was like, okay, like I'm going to start growing this, and I'm going to start trading with this little sum. Right.
Yeah.
So I take it and I split it between Apple and NVIDIA. Right. Half and half. And Apple was outperforming it for quite a while. So I ended up just holding the Apple. I still hold the Apple. And then when we had, when NVIDIA was kind of starting to take off, one of the big things that made me really buy into that was because, it was during the pandemic. Everyone was inside. I was playing video games with friends online, and literally every single person I knew was waiting on the 3090 to come off of like backlog because of the supply chain issues. So, with that, and with Bitcoin becoming like really big, right, in crypto mining becoming a really big deal, I was like, this seems like a no-brainer. The part that I hadn't even factored in was AI. Right. It is not something that crossed my mind. So I set this like target in my head of, oh, well, I think it's going to be $500 is fair value. Right. And so it gets up to it. Right. The current post split price of 50, and I sell. And I'm like, you know what? If it gets back down to 350, right, or 35, I'll buy back in.
Similar. Real quick, mining.
Still holding that one.
In Morocco. I was with a French company. We went for like a big offsite, and I think it was like the company kickoff in Morocco. I'm sitting there. I think it was 2011, 2012. And this guy turns around like in line. He's like, you need to start buying like these Bitcoin miners. And I was like, fuck, that was like right around the time where I was like invested in Bitcoin. And 2017 is when I invested in Bitcoin. So this was even earlier. Should have listened to that guy. Although now it's coming down again. But at the time, Bitcoin was $400, I think, or something crazy.
So I remember the first time that I ever.
We got
heard
2 minutes,
Bitcoin.
by the way, just a heads up. I gotta wrap in 2 minutes because I got a call. But I do want you to tell your story.
Quick little thing about Bitcoins. The first time I heard about Bitcoin, I was living in an apartment at 18, and we had these neighbors. It was like 3 guys, 2 of them were brothers, and then a friend. And they all literally sat in their house all day. They would order like literally fucking Burger King for every meal, right? You'd see them come and drop it off, and they just sat inside. And they had a bunch of fucking computers. And I remember one time I went in there, and I just see like this big stack of fucking computers on the wall. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, why do you guys need so many? And they're like, oh, we're mining Bitcoin. And I'm like, what's a Bitcoin, and what do you mean you're mining it? Like, I don't see a pickaxe, right? So they kind of explain it to me, and I was like, well, this is nonsense. Like, I don't think this is gonna go anywhere. So they're like, no, look into it. And I go and I look up like the cost for mining it, and it basically showed that if I was to mine Bitcoin on my computer, that I would be frying out my GPU. And actually frying out the CPU, which is what most computers really ran on back then. Mind you, it's like 2000, I think early 2013. So I see that, and I see that like with the power and everything that I would end up losing. So I didn't do it. And I knew about it when it was literally like 15 cents. I had people telling me, go mine it. And I didn't listen.
I mean, even when I bought it, it was 2,400, right? Initially,
crazy.
And I bought 3, sold those off to pay a tax bill, because at the time it was very different too. You didn't know if it was going to go to zero. There wasn't ETFs. There wasn't all this institutional push. President of the United States was not talking about it. You know, it was still very much a fairy tale and like a wishful thinking. But I always kick myself just for like, those are cheap Bitcoin. And then, you know, at these conferences, you hear stories like this. They're like, "Oh, cool, dude, 2,400. I had it before it was even invented." And you're like, "What? That's not even possible."
I think the funniest one is the guy that ended up buying a pizza for like 10 Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's like $700 million worth or something.
That is the most expensive pizza a person could ever.
He's probably fine. That's Laszlo, and I think he probably has. My guess, if he was willing to throw 10,000 of those, like some of these guys have thousands and thousands of Bitcoin, you know, and they bought it at 10 cents, which probably spent nothing on it. So, anyways, great show. FRMI. Watch that for Friday. And then
Microsoft earnings Wednesday, tomorrow night, and Reddit on Thursday evening. And if you're not long all of them, don't
Permables, baby. Let's go.
Reddit Permabull.
Bring it back. All right, man. I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for joining. And we will be back at 2:30 here with Problem Sniper. So I'm going to put a little "We'll be back" sign, put some music on, and we'll be back. My man, Caleb. Have a good week, dude.
You too. See ya.
Get some music for you guys here. Hang on.
April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money. Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas, yeah. Asked the Guggenheim Straits aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now JP begged his pardon at the dock as health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in legends, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men, all them in that real car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that put the dawn. A Rockefeller, Whittington, proximity, diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island, wrote the arithmetic dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The Daily Stack.
Where you learn the game?
Daily Stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
So the engine started humming, watch a century capitulating. 33 they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 6102 a decade in the silver, what you holding? Paid you 20, priced at 35, the share was silent golden. Then every war became a tablet printing press with underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in the desert, ran it, Trugan on the ticket. No bond driving, no bake sales, just dilution, so specific. Come on, eat the whole casino, nearly burned down to the framing. So they built a house with gold deposits called the Ashes Haven. Balance sheet ran wonderful while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days. March 2020 markets in free fall. The Federal Reserve announces unlimited quantitative easing, unlimited. Within 2 years, roughly 40% of all dollars in circulation were created after that announcement.
Some patterns are right.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another, keep it moving. Stimulated your reflection while the asset holders grooving. Them two rows like it was raptured, 40 points in 2 rotations. And they blamed your grocery bill on ships and weather patterns. Patience called inflation transitory till the world retired in shame. Every crisis fed the printer, every printer fed the game. And the debt cost 37 trillion, interest east the budget. Now the only buyer left is math, the math is never fudged. So block zero was the answer to 100 years of Dragon Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched inside the Genesis awakened. They confiscated metal with a memo and a mandate, but the 21 million is a covenant no order can invade.
They came for grandma's wedding gold with legislation, not a gun. But you can't confiscate a memory. 12 words beneath the morning sun. My keys, my coins on a dime.
Now they're selling you a stable coin, a dollar in a costume, programmable and traceable, a leash inside your wallet's living room. Tethered buying treasuries like a nation in the shadows. The empire found a new export. The deck rides on the app now. They can freeze it, let the issue. They can flag it, they can fence it. Money within our switches of yours. It's just a rental with the minutes. So I hold the one that cannot print and cannot be commissioned. From the blinds to the habit, not connected every mission. They had 6 men in a train car. I got candlesticks and cameras. 12:30 every weekday. Teaching history in stanzas.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The daily stack.
Where you learn the game?
The daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
The daily stack. They built the printer, and they put it in your pocket. One goes to the exit. Next block. April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money. Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas, yeah. Asked the Guggenheim streets aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now J.P. Baker's pardon at the dock, his health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in ledger, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men on a midnight real car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that put the dawn. A Rockefeller wedding turned proximity diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island wrote the arithmetic dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The daily stack.
Where you learn the game?
The daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
So the engine started humming, watch a century capitulating. 33 they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 61 no to a decade in the silver, what you holding? Page 20, price to 35, the share was silent golden. Then every war became a tablet print and press with underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in the desert, ran it, Trugan on the ticket. No bond driving, no bake sales, just dilution, so specific. Come away, the whole casino nearly burned down to the framing. So they built a house with Joe the pot, it's called the Ashes Saving. Balance sheet ran wonderful while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days. March 2020 markets in free fall. The Federal Reserve announces unlimited quantitative easing, unlimited. Within 2 years, roughly 40% of all dollars in circulation were created after that announcement.
Some patterns are right.
2020, here's $1 trillion, here's another, keep it moving. Stimulated your reflection while the asset holders grooving them two rows like it was raptured. 40 points in 2 rotations, then they blamed your grocery bill on ships and weather patterns. Patience called inflation transitory till the word retired in shame. Every crisis fed the printer, every printer fed the game. And the debt cost 37 trillion, interest east the budget. Now the only buyer left is math, the math is never fudge it. So block zero was the answer to 100 years of drinking. Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched inside the Genesis awakened. They confiscated metal with a memo and a mandate, but the 21 million is a covenant no order can invade.
They came for grandma's wedding gold with legislation, not a gun. But you can't confiscate a memory. 12 words beneath the morning sun. My keys, my coins on a dime.
Now they're selling you a stable coin, $1 in a costume, programmable and traceable. A leash inside your wallet's living room. Tether buying treasuries like a nation in the shadows. The empire found a new export. The deck binds on the app, now they can freeze it. That they issue, they can flag it, they can fence it. Money with an all switches of yours, it's just a rental with the minutes. So I hold the one that cannot break and cannot be permission. From the dub lines to the habit, not connected every mission. They had 6 men in a train car.
I got candlesticks and cameras.
12:30 every weekday,
Teaching history in stanzas. They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
the daily stack,
Where you learn the game?
the daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
Daily stack. They built the printer and they put it in your pocket. One goes to the exit.
Tick, 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 tick.
Next block. April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money. Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas, yeah. Asked the Guggenheim and Straits aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now J.P. Baker's pardon at the dock, his health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in ledger, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men on a midnight real car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that put the dawn. A Rockefeller wedding turned proximity diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island wrote the arithmetic dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The daily stack,
Where you learn the game?
daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
So the engine started humming, watch a century capitulating. 33 they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 6102 a decade in the silver, what you holding? Page 20, priced at 35, the share was silent golden. Then every war became a tab to print and press would underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in in the desert, ran it, Trugan on the ticket. No buying, driving, no bake sales, just dilution, so specific. Come on, the whole casino nearly burned down to the framing. So they built a house with the pot is called the ashes saving. Balance sheet ran wonderful while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days.
March 2020 markets in free fall. The Federal Reserve announces unlimited quantitative easing, unlimited. Within 2 years, roughly 40% of all dollars in circulation were created after that announcement.
Some patterns are right.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another. Keep it moving, stimulated your reflection while the asset holders grooving them two rows like it was raptured. 40 points in 2 rotations, and they blamed your grocery bill on ships and weather patterns. Patience called inflation transitory till the word retired in shame. Every crisis fed the printer, every printer fed the game. And the deck cost 37 trillion, interest east the budget. Now the only buyer left is math, the math is never fudged. So block zero was the answer to 100 years of drinking. Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched inside the Genesis awakened. They confiscated metal with a memo and a mandate. But the 21 million is a covenant no order can invade.
They came for grandma's wedding gold with legislation, not a gun, but you can't confiscate a memory. 12 words beneath the morning sun. My keys, my coins on a dime.
Now they're selling you a stable coin, a dollar in a costume, programmable and traceable. A leash inside your wallet's living room. Tether buying treasuries like a nation in the shadows. The empire found a new export. The deck rides on the app now. They can freeze it, that they issue. They can flag it, they can fence it. Money with an all switches and yours. It's just a rental with the minutes. So I hold the one that cannot print and cannot be permission. From the dub lines to the habit, not connected every mission. They had 6 men in a train car.
I got candlesticks and cameras.
12:30 every weekday, teaching history in stanzas.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The daily stack,
Where you learn the game?
the daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
The daily stack. They built the printer, and they put it in your pocket. One goes to the exit. Next block.
April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money.
Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas, yeah. Asked the Guggenheim in streets aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now J.P. Baker's pardon at the dock, his health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in ledgers, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men, all them in that real car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that put the dawn. A Rockefeller wedding turned proximity diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island wrote the arithmetic dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The daily stack,
Where you learn the game?
daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
So the engine started humming, watch a century
capitulating. 33, they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 6102, a decade in the silver, what you holding? Paid you 20, priced at 35, the share was silent golden. Then every war became a tablet print and press with underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in the desert, ran it, Trugan on the ticket. No bond driving, no bake sales, just dilution, so specific. Come on, eat the whole casino, nearly burned down to the framing. So they built a house with gold deposits called the Ashes Saving. Balance sheet ran wonderful while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days.
March 2020 markets in free fall. The Federal Reserve announces unlimited quantitative easing, unlimited. Within 2 years, roughly 40% of all dollars in circulation were created after that announcement.
Some patterns are right.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another, keep it moving. Stimulated your reflection while the asset holders grooving. Them 2 rows like it was raptured, 40 points in 2 rotations. And they blamed your grocery bill on ships and weather patterns. Patience called inflation transitory till the world retired in shame. Every crisis fed the printer, every printer fed the game. And the debt cost 37 trillion, interest east the budget. Now the only buyer left is math, the math is never fudged. So block 0 was the answer to 100 years of Drake and Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched inside the Genesis awakened. They confiscated metal with a memo and a mandate. But the 21 million is a covenant, no order can invade.
They came for grandma's wedding gold with legislation, not a gun. But you can't confiscate a memory. 12 words beneath the morning sun. My keys, my coins on a dime.
Now they're selling you a stable coin, a dollar in a costume, programmable and traceable, a leash inside your wallet's living room. Tethered buying treasuries like a nation in the shadows. The empire found a new export. The deck rides on the app, now they can freeze it. That the issue, they can flag it, they can fence it. Money within our switches and yours, it's just a rental with the minutes. So I hold the one that cannot print and cannot be commissioned. From the dub lines to the having, I connected every mission. They had 6 men in a train car.
I got candlesticks and cameras.
12:30 every weekday, teaching history in stanzas.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The Daily Stack.
Where you learn the game?
The Daily Stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
Daily Stack. They built the printer, and they put it in your pocket. One goes to the exit. Next block. April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money. Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas, yeah. Asked the Guggenheim streets aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now J.P. begged his pardon at the dock, his health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in ledgers, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men on a midnight real car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that put the dawn. A Rockefeller wedding turned proximity diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island wrote the arithmetic dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't.
started humming, watch a century capitulating. 33, they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 61, no 2, a decade in the silver, what you holding? Page 20, price to 35, the share of silent golden. Then every war became a tab to print and press with underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in the desert, ran it, Trugan on the ticket. No buying, driving, no bake sales, just dilution, so specific. Come on, eat the whole casino, nearly burned down to the framing. So they built a house with Joe, the pot is called the ashes saving. Balance sheet ran wonderful, while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days.
March 2020 markets in free fall. The Federal Reserve announces unlimited quantitative easing, unlimited. Within 2 years, roughly 40% of all dollars in circulation were created after that announcement.
Some patterns are right.
2020, here's a trillion, here's another, keep it moving. Stimulated your reflection while the asset holders grooving. Them 2 rows like it was raptured, 40 points in 2 rotations. Then they blamed your grocery bill on ships and weather patterns. Patience called inflation transitory till the word retired in shame. Every crisis fed the printer, every printer fed the game. And the debt cost 37 trillion, interest eats the budget. Now the only buyer left is math, the math is never fudge it. So block 0 was the answer to 100 years of drinking. Chancellor on brink of bailout, stitched inside the Genesis awakened. They confiscated metal with a memo and a mandate. But the 21 million is a covenant no order can invade.
They came for grandma's wedding gold with legislation, not a gun. But you can't confiscate a memory. 12 words beneath the morning sun. My keys, my coins on a dime.
Now they're selling you a stable coin, $1 in a costume, programmable and traceable. A leash inside your wallet's living room. Tether buying treasuries like a nation in the shadows. The empire found a new export. The deck rides on the app now. They can freeze it, let the issue. They can flag it, they can fence it. Money with enough switches of yours. It's just a rental with the minutes. So I hold the one that cannot print and cannot be permission. From the blinds to the habit, not connected every mission. They had 6 men in a train car.
I got candlesticks and cameras.
12:30 every weekday, teaching history in stanzas.
They can print it, but they can't print that. No, they can't. No, they can't. Every dollar's getting thinner, better watch your back. So where you get the truth?
The daily stack,
Where you learn the game?
the daily stack.
12:30 on the dot, and we don't know how to slack. When the paper turns to powder, I'll be sitting on the stack.
The daily stack. They built the printer, and they put it in your pocket. One goes to the exit.
Tick, 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 tick.
Next block.
April 1912. The richest ship ever built goes down, and the man who financed her never boards. 18 months later, the Federal Reserve is born. A century after that, the printing never sleeps. This is the story of the money.
Yeah, the story goes the Gilded Age was printed on a manifest. A floating palace made in Voyage Morgan's grandest canvas yet. Asked the Guggenheim and Straits aboard her when she slipped the pier. And legend swears that everyone opposed the plan they shipped that year. Now J.P. Baker's pardon at the dock, his health was ailing. So the old world's oldest fortunes met the water while the band was playing. But I only deal in ledgers, so I'll read you what Sundial did. 20 months from icy water to the printer, go about it. 6 men on a midnight real car. First names on the curtains drawn. Aldrich, Warburg, Davis in the dynasties that built the dawn. A Rockefeller wedding turned proximity diplomacy. 9 days on Jekyll Island wrote the arithmetic of dynasty.
They can print it, but they can't print that.
So the engine started humming, watch a century capitulating. 33 they took the gold, a signature note litigating. 6102 a decade in the silver, what you holding? Paid you 20, priced at 35, the share was silent golden. Then every war became a talent, printing press with underwrite. Vietnam drained out the vaults till Nixon cut the cord one Sunday night. 2 decades in the desert, ran it, Trugan on the ticket. No bond driving, no bake sales, it's dilution, so specific. Come on, eat the whole casino, nearly burned down to the framing. So they build a house with gold deposits called the ashes saving. Balance sheet ran wonderful while wages barely got a raise. That was just a dress rehearsal for the flood of later days. March 2020 markets in free fall.
Bring me to the stage here. Let's turn that light off. Let's be aggressive here. Welcome back. We got the afternoon session with Problem Sniper here. We'll add him. He is there. I'm not the music. He's a full-time producer, by the way, if anyone wants to be a producer on the show. Sniper, I don't know if you're there. There he is.
Hey, I'm here.
Fun, man. It's the morning started off pretty bad and ugly. Well, on some of the stocks that I'm in with the NASDAQ, but looks like we potentially could bounce. We got big week, obviously, FOMC here tomorrow. We were just talking about that on the earlier show. Massive earnings with all the big Mag 7s coming up on tomorrow. And you want to talk about GE and Lilly and where were the other ones that you had? You had a few that we want to talk about. It was fun though. I was joking about buying GM, GE, all of the old school companies. But what are your thoughts overall before we jump into the individual names? Where are we sitting? Is this the end of the AI trade, or is this a blip on the screen when we zoom out?
I mean, this is something that when there's fear in the market, all the irrational, views come out. Either way, like we saw that with MU, we saw that with all the other big names. We saw that with NVIDIA when it was running. We'll always have these dips. We'll always find these opportunities to get back into the market. Most people have missed out on. And in my opinion, with respect to how the longevity I have been in the market, when these ridiculous views and people come out saying, okay, this is the end is near and things like that, that's when it's an opportunity to buy. And that's exactly, I think, is what is happening with the AI trades as well. There is definitely quite a bit of unwinding. If you look at SMH, it's down 23% to 25% from all-time highs. Although if you think about it on the grand scheme of things, we did have quite a bit of rally in them as well. So a drop off like that kind of is okay, it is profit booking. It is retail traders being pushed out of the market and things like that. So I think there's opportunity now again. According to me, when the market moves this way per se, one final flush before it, they show like a classic breakdown kind of situation, like some head and shoulders breaking down or some bearish scenario kind of winding up, or bearish scenario showing up and things like that. And then they just rip up the market back up again and getting everybody off guard, whoever is short. So market essentially definitely wants short sellers, right? Like that's part of the game that the market plays. One has to lose money to make for the other to make money. That's what the market is. That is what is a rotation scheme the market works on. So according to me, this is basically an opportunity, and I think it's going to be. Looking back at it from 6 to 8 months, picking quality stocks again, I think you'll be happy with your portfolio.
I got a really important question. What is the song on your ringtone that you just muted?
That's not the song on my ringtone. I was just making a IWM trade idea for this week because I didn't post one on Sunday. I'm being very cautious with the market. I'm really not playing much at all. There's really no opportunity in the market.
That's a trade though. That people need to realize. That's the one thing I actually love about you is if you don't see something, that's why they call you the sniper. You don't need to shoot just to shoot,
It doesn't really matter, like it's better just sit out and wait for the right opportunity, clear your head out, look at all the perspective the market is giving you. Like most people have that tunnel vision when they are in the market, and that's what kind of burns you quite a bit. Once you like start understanding, okay, you know what, I have a couple of failed trades, that's fine, like the market is always right. And I'm looking at something wrong, and you have a couple of failed trades, that's when you're like, okay, let me go back, let me reassess, let's see what the market is doing. And then when you look at the broader market in general, it's not just your trades that are failing, it's the market that is trying to break out, giving you a fake breakout, breaking down again, giving you a fake breakdown, popping back up again. Like it's absolutely ridiculous, right? Like it's not just your trade, it's not just you, it's the whole technical market that is doing that. So once you see such things, and once you step back and see the grand picture, that's when you're like, it's fine. Like a market beat me for a couple of trades, I'm fine. Let me reassess, see what the market gives. Once that is back in my favor, that's when I shoot back again.
Well, and you zig when they zag. I always feel like when you're in that capitulation and everyone's ripping their shirts off, going to the bar, freaking out, that's like when you re-enter the market. We do have FOMC here tomorrow. Expectations are either to raise, or I've heard a lot of people talking about raising, and then I've heard the majority saying that they'll stay, where they're at. What do you?
I think the poly market or something. I just follow poly market. I don't follow Kalshi, but poly market I think has a 53% or 63% raise market, raise in interest rates this Wednesday. It can also be the big guys hedging their positions using, like I've heard an interesting theory that these hedge funds are like, the big money guys are also hedging their positions based off poly market and things like that as well, because there's money to be made there as well. So maybe it's a hedged position, I don't know, but if they do raise interest rates, that is something the market is already pricing in my opinion, because many people are seeing those percentages on poly market, because that's also the market sentiment, right? And if you think about it in general, so if there is a raise, I think the market is trying to price in the worst case outcome also at these current prices that we are seeing.
This is on predicts, but this is for the entire year. So if they're going to raise in the year, got to make that delineation here. That's sitting around yes at 44%. So one thing that's cool, and predicts is obviously a sponsor of the show, friends of the pod. But I did notice, I tweeted this out the other day, because when LeBron went to Philadelphia, there was a lot of volume coming in, and there was, if you didn't think that they'll win the East, predicts had much better odds for you than Kalshi. So that's another, you can arbitrage a little bit between predicts, between Kalshi and Polymarket as well. So, I will spin one up. So follow our Twitter at Daily Stack HQ, and I will spin up for tomorrow's what people are thinking about as well. Earnings too, I want to touch on with you, get your take on what you're thinking for. We saw what happened with Google. Do you think that's the canary in the coal mine there of kind of telling us what to expect for these other Mag 7?
I think Google had its turn. Google had its run for 2026, 2025, 2026.
It's recovered pretty nice too. I think it's back of that loss.
Exactly. So I mean, all these big tech at this current moment, like I understand many people who are invested in big tech, like especially me. I like big tech, right? Like I don't invest in small caps or mid caps or anything like that, right? So your portfolios are underperforming, yes, because all the mags are underperforming, except for Apple. Nothing is really making new all-time highs at the moment. But the thing is, all these big tech are in the wait mode. I think especially Meta, Google, Amazon. I really like Amazon. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I think they're in like a wait mode where they're like building out this infrastructure. They're building out everything that they need for consumption for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And then once that one-time investment comes in, what happens to capex, right? What happens to growth, what happens to revenue, what happens to all these other things that these guys are betting on for the future, they are obviously going to explode. And that is where I think, Google, we saw the 5 trillion, Apple, we saw the 5 trillion, we saw Nvidia at 5 trillion. I think Amazon, Meta, all these are going to explode even higher to those 5 trillion market caps. And most of these other tech that have already been already saw that market cap will probably flag until the rest of the big Mag 7s catch up. But overall, I think what Oracle is doing, what Meta is doing, what Nvidia is doing, all of Tesla is doing, SpaceX is doing, all of this is capital expenditure. Yes, you are going to see some kind of lagging, some kind of sideways movement. You won't see as much growth as you would see with AI bottleneck names or infrastructure built out names, but you will definitely see returns on them in the next 5 years. So what happens this week with earnings? I'm not really concerned with all of that noise when I'm thinking about long-term investing. But when it comes to short-term investing, if these big names are still spending, are still willing to spend more and more and more, that means AI bottleneck names, infrastructure names, like anything that creates the build out to happen for these big tech for their future will keep exploding higher.
Mm-hmm. You picked 4 names today. Let's start with Lilly, because that's the stock that, I wish I bought in the 800s. It did what I thought, and I think it has a long way to go. I own 0 shares, so I do want to change that rapidly, because I think Retta, and I'll let you pull up your chart here in just a second, but where is it? Yeah, look at this. This is crazy. So I think it's 1 in 5 or 1 in 3. It's like a big percentage of the population, at least in the US, has fatty liver. And the results of retatrutide, I'll just call it Retta because I can't pronounce the whole name. 86% liver fat reduction, 72% pre-diabetes reversal. Like, every doctor is going to be prescribing this, and the longevity. Like, this is the first drug that not only makes you like lose weight. I know some of the other ones have helped too, but like blood pressure dropping off, 41 completely off blood pressure medicine. So it feels like a miracle drug. I know that there's been some cases where people are getting some stomach issues, which I think happens with some of the other GLP ones. But this feels like one of those drugs that it makes the original GLP ones look like nothing, because it just helps downstream with so many other factors. I'm excited about it. I used to have fatty liver. I do not anymore, which is great. But I probably will again at some point. I don't want to take this drug. So wanted to pull up that tweet real quick, and then I'll pull up what matters.
Yeah. So something about Retta. Like 90% of my family are doctors, and I have been hearing about Retta. Q1 2027, they're getting the FDA approval, and all of them are very pro Retta, right? Like they are saying, like my cousin, who's very close to me, is a gastroenterologist too. So me and him were talking about it yesterday, and he thinks Q1 2027 is when they're going to get their FDA approval, and he's definitely going to. He definitely said there's a huge population that's going to use it, not just for fatty liver, for multiple other peptide, cases also, where this is definitely the miracle drug, and he's super interested in it, and he is invested in LLY from way back, and he was just asking me about the chart and what I think about it. I think LLY, in my opinion, is a $1,600 to an $1,800 stock. Any drop off to 1,000, I would just load the boat on it. This was also the trade idea for last week as well. Look at the clean compression that it had and then broke out, and now it's sitting at like 1,200 plus. Once that 1,240 kind of breaks, we are looking at 1,500 open up for the bulls very soon into Q3 or early Q4. So LLY is a definite long-term hold. I love the company. I definitely would recommend anybody to if anybody asks me if there's a company out there that you really trust, I think LLY is one of them. And the big I think this was somewhere trading at around $600 or something. I think I tweeted about it saying LLY will be the first $1 trillion pharma company as well.
You did.
And it
I
happened.
remember you saying that actually.
Yeah.
Jody, I know you're listening to this because Jody's been an LLY for quite some time.
Yep.
It's just one of those. It's a beach stock, I think. It's like pharma and bio. Those are typically, they just go up and down like crazy. I know Pfizer,
Yeah.
and Moderna. Obviously with the COVID vaccines went like this, and then they were getting sued, and all this shit that was happening. But Eli Lilly kind of stayed out of most of that. There
Yep.
it is.
They're a very clean company in that aspect.
Jody, 15 years in LLY.
15 years in LLY.
The old school investor, Home Depot,
Yep.
LLY. He says no one could have seen the GLP-1 type impact though. I think Retta, obviously some of this is probably priced in here, but I don't think, like looking at those stats, I was just trying to pull up too. All right, here, I got the stats on all those things. So 25 to 35% of adults, around 30%, it looks like, elevated fatty liver. 2 in 5 adults have prediabetes, so about 40%. Hypertension, almost 50% of the U.S. population. 24% are taking blood pressure medicine. That's like the TAM on this is insane. So if results are true, which I think they are, right? It's a massive company. They can't mess around with that. I think it's going to be bigger than people expect, and this is going to be a company that I need to find. So for me and everyone else listening that doesn't have shares, you still thinking now's a good time, or would you wait for another drop here?
Let me see the weekly chart. So on the weekly time frame, I would probably load it up back again at around 1100 to 1075. That's the range that you would want to add it up in.
Yeah, this feels like for me. I would not necessarily even do a trade. It just feels like a strong company that's got a lot in the pipeline coming up. So that's exciting. Another name we talked about, or we haven't, I don't think, ever spoken about, is GE coming out of the grave. Like, who's the WWE wrestler I'm thinking of right now? GE 2026 results, I'm looking at up 21%, 13.3 gap, and I won't read. I'll let you talk about this one. What do you like?
I think some of these old school names, the boomer stocks, are coming back online last week and this week, and we saw that clean falling wedge last week, and it's kind of breaking out now. We are also seeing that 9 and 20 cross over. The 9 is crossing over the 20 again, creating that momentum. That 380 is the target for the short term, and once that 380 breaks, 400 kind of opens up for GE. Overall, I think I think if you're looking for some kind of boomer stock trade, GE has a very nice clean setup of that falling wedge and breaking out. So that's something that I'm looking out for. Just wanted to give a heads up as if someone is not looking at these stocks. GE, I'm looking at GM. That's another one that's kind of breaking out as well. That stock
Coca-Cola did well today, at least in the morning session. I didn't see it.
Yeah, like all these like boomer stocks are really hitting off. Like, then you have JPM. That's another one that's really breaking out as well. You have Bank of America. That's another stock that's looking pretty solid at its all-time highs. Probably 66, 70 is something that you can look out for. Like, there's so many stocks like these, like IBM after that huge drop is showing that relative strength again after their.
Do you think this is an AI money, like shifting back to kind of safety stocks and companies that are making money and, have dividends?
I think so. I mean, these are companies that I wouldn't say they are making money per se. I think they're just safe trades, right? Like if you look at Apple also is one of those stocks where once you see the war news or anything that comes up with respect to tariffs or anything at all, everybody just holds Apple for some reason. We have seen this in 2024 also, right? Like when Trump was posting about tariffs, yes, we did have a dip on Apple because of China exposure, but then Apple was the one that keeps ravaging on any market weakness. So I think it's like a safe haven kind of situation where you see Apple, GE, GM, all these companies that are being backed by the like that are technically not overexposed with respect to leverages are and holding a lot of cash or have a lot of cash in hand or something that are going up or some. There's this little bag of stocks that are really doing well in the market.
Yeah. Well, I just pulled up the Pelosi tracker, and the three names we talked about are sitting on top of each other, funny enough, all promoted by Trump on Truth Social.
Exactly.
Those are the trades to take a look at, and President Trump is there. Tesla, real quick, before we go to the other two, just because it's sitting on top of that. Where do you see Tesla going? Because it's been getting wrecked.
Right now, Avi, like the way I look at Tesla, I feel Elon is playing 3D chess.
I think he wants us to buy it cheaper. I don't know how that works. Like,
I think so. Like there's something that's wrong. Like there's something that's fishy or something that's something that we don't know. There is a long game that he's playing, and I just don't know what it is. I mean, the end game I definitely feel is a SpaceX Tesla merger, because you see all these modules coming into Tesla being used by SpaceX being used by SpaceX things used by Tesla. Like I'll give you a very simple example, right? Like he said, all Tesla Model 3, Model Ys will start to use Starlink, and these cars can also use as hoppers or something like that. He said they will also be used as transponders or something around that. So Tesla robotaxi,
right? Like
like Tesla robotaxi connectivity will depend on Starlink, right? So all of SpaceX, all of the major part of what SpaceX is working on right now, or the revenue generator of SpaceX, is going to Tesla. The main consumer is Tesla right now.
Yeah.
And then he's also using Grok inside Tesla now. Like I've been watching my friend do this quite a bit, where he's like, hey Grok, I want to overtake this car right in front of me. Also tell me what the name of this car is, and can you like talk shit about that car? And
crazy.
It does it. It
Next
does it.
need
Like,
a megaphone coming out the front so you could actually
like it literally like it can eat my dust, whatever shit it is, like it says all of that too, like
that's amazing. Like can I beat this car off the start?
I'm not even kidding, like it's super fun.
We were driving to a bachelor party, and he's like, watch this, because he sells like land and leases land, and he's like, I actually have a back and forth with Grok. He's like, Grok, pretend you're the person that I'm about to call, come up with all of the like objections they'll have. So it was pretty funny. Like he had a full back and forth conversation, like a sales training call, while the Tesla's driving it. And you realize this thing's not a car. It's a computer on wheels. It's exciting. The stock chart is not exciting for me though, recently, as a long-term holder. Do you think, like, how long is this 3D chess going to go on for? Because I've heard rumors. I think Jonah Lupton had this tweet. He got kind of beat up on it about, but he was saying that Elon's doing this on purpose to buy it for cheaper.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's where I come up with this 3D chess, where I think SpaceX is going all the way up till 85. I think Tesla can go all the way up to like 230, 250-ish, and then he'll just do a merger. Because he's also talking about, like, let's say Optimus comes out, and he wants to do this before Optimus comes out, because that is going to be a huge revenue stream for Tesla next.
Yeah.
And if for him to say we are going to stop the production lines on S and X and we are going to repurpose them for Optimus, that's a huge risk. Or without the market analysis on Optimus, he wouldn't really do that, right? He expects a huge anyway.
Someone breaking in your house again?
What? No.
No, last time you heard some music pop on out of nowhere. Now your dog's
no, it's my girlfriend, I think. She's
Is that a real dog or a robo dog, by the way? Dumb joke. I was asking if it was a robo dog. We can keep moving. That joke didn't land. I got more up my sleeve.
So anyway, he has to do this before Optimus comes online. So in my opinion, because like once people get the optimism of Optimus coming out, there's no stopping Tesla stock. So he needs this like, something kind of like all this bullish sense in Tesla and SpaceX to fade away. Nobody's looking at it. And then he says, okay, here's the merger. Because, he has talked about Optimus also being used in SpaceX rockets. So there's a lot of cross collaboration that's going on between SpaceX and Tesla. And I don't think there is any reason why Elon will not merge both of them.
I'm just not going to bet against Elon. I'm not touching my Tesla. If I'm wrong, then we got other issues happening. But it has not been fun the past couple days. What else do we want to touch on? IWM and go to Amazon because you were talking about Amazon earlier. So
so Amazon they report? Is one tech stock. I'm sorry.
They report this week.
Yeah, they report on Thursday.
Thursday, that's right. Okay, with Reddit too.
Yeah. So this stock has been choppy for years now. And they did not have the AI run per se, in my opinion. And they are one of those companies that are on the forefront of this AI race. And they have the capability, I believe, to be the next $5 trillion company as well. Especially with robotics, especially with what they can do with their logistics and also their cloud. Obviously, they have their chip division also working on a new chip, just like how Google is. But I don't know if they are going to sell their chips like how Google is going to sell them, at least what Google has said. We don't know yet, but this stock is something that I'm definitely looking out for. One of the, in the short-term basis also, I see a lot of bullish flow on Amazon. This week, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon, if I'm looking at all the three options flow, Amazon has the most bullish flow, short-term, long-term basis. The second goes to Microsoft and third goes to Meta. But definitely a stock to look out for in the next 3 to 4 years as we enter the robotics revolution is how I want to see it.
They some quick numbers I pulled up. 2026 Q1, 28% year over year on AWS. Operating margins on that 37.7. Consensus expects a strong Q2. Big backlog, 364 billion. I mean, this is different territory here. The custom chips you talked about with Trinium, Graviton, et cetera. And then their advertising business too went up 24%, which is big. And going back to Chris Camillo, which I've probably mentioned 1,000 times, he was saying this is going to be the downstream. So if the trade with AI, I don't think it's over yet, but if it does start to shift now, you'll see these companies that have all these big investments start to actually have that payoff. Because I think that's been the biggest thing. We've talked about this on a few podcasts where it's these corporations haven't seen the huge uplift that with, I guess in line with the investments thus far, but it takes a while to come into fruition. It's a very big shift for people too. You can't just like take a mammoth like Amazon and expect everyone to learn it and, integrate it into their workflows, right out the gates. And so I think we'll eventually see that. And Amazon is, full transparency, my number one position. So I like hearing that bullish sentiment out of your mouth here. It's nice. Real quick, just because they do Reddit same day as Reddit earnings. Would love to see what you're seeing here on the charts.
Yeah, Reddit. I think this drawdown was after they announced their end of partnership with Google right before Google's earnings, and after that they dropped and popped a little bit. I remember you texted me about Reddit as well. Like I was talking to you about this trend line here at around 160, 164, 165.
It lost like $6 billion in market cap though over a $60 million contract, which I thought was insane.
Exactly.
It made no sense in my opinion. So I'm still very bullish on Reddit. I think they'll resolve that. I was talking with Joey about this too. Joey Salitro, who joins on the Monday show. And he was saying like, they're not going to Google, because I was like, could Google be in the driver's seat here basically and say, all right, fuck you, Reddit. We're just going to like throttle you down and your results won't pop up. And he's like, over $60 million, they're not going to mess up. They want to deliver the best search to, the users. And so I agreed with him. He won that debate, and I think if you look at the lows, they keep climbing higher now, and I think hopefully this is the time where Reddit does their breakout, and they're not going to be a Mag 7 stock, but it's always been kind of Snapchat's kind of trash, but Reddit is, I think, going to be, I don't know if it will ever get to meta status, but I like it long term. And they also are renewing their contracts for AI. They also have the Anthropic, before Anthropic goes public. We just saw Anthropic, I think it was a $1.2 billion settlement with all the authors, which was nothing, to be honest, because it was I think it ended up being $3,000 per book for the authors. But that will be another settlement, I predict, and several others, I'm not alone here, that before Anthropic goes public, they'll want to have a settlement. They're not going to have some pending lawsuit on their books, in my opinion. So
okay, yeah, I mean,
where do you see here?
And so one of the things that I really like about Reddit is their efficiency on their work culture too. You see all these Mag 7s and like Microsoft, Meta, Google, all of them. They're spending a shit ton of money on doing AI. The spend on Reddit is very minimal. That's one. And I think they are only online platform which can be human. They have a very, very well human curated data in their social media. When you look at Twitter, when you look at Meta, there's so much AI content that's already flooding in, but Reddit does not have that per se. Yeah. So I don't know. I think Reddit is one of those stocks which can go up quite a bit, but at the same time, it's never going to be at a scale of Meta, in my opinion.
No, I agree. Reddit, they actually reached out to our company to do some advertising. And so I was curious as an investor. I was yeah, I'll take the call and look through their deck. And I was impressed with some of the numbers and the retention, because they had it wasn't on this podcast. It was a different one we were talking about. That there's literally a subreddit for anything you can think about for the most part. So as people go into these obscures, I was more PG with mine, and I said furries, but there was literally one about robots having sex with horse. It was something completely crazy, and there was a subreddit for it. My friend brought up as one of the things. So where was the stat that I wanted to see? So yeah, Q1 2026 revenue grew 69% year on year. Advertising revenue up 74%. So I'm liking this stock. I'm decent. I think it's number 4 or 5 on my portfolio, but one that I do like long term here as well. Okay. IWM, we can wrap it up. If people are listening that want to throw a few tickers in the comments, I will keep an eye on that. Otherwise, we can wrap. But
yeah, so IWM, look at this chart. Nice consolidation sideways, almost like a falling wedge here. I'm looking at this upper trend line to break. I'm not advising anybody to front run it, because one of the biggest reasons why I'm not asking people to do that, because we have not seen a follow through on any breakouts. We have not seen any follow throughs on any breakdowns. So you need a confirmation on the daily. But this is a very nice, clean setup. The number of times it has touched that trend line, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times now. And the next time it touches, I do think it'll break above that 296. It's absolutely ravaging towards that 298 to 300 this week. So can it happen tomorrow after wash? Probably yes. And I'm definitely looking out for this stock to play to the upside. So 300 is the price target for this week. I'll be posting out a video on Instagram as well, so people can follow it there. But
what's your Instagram for the listeners that do not?
It's the same thing. Problem Sniper
across the board.
Yeah,
love it. We do have Capital Harbor asking about MU. So one of the biggest winners of this year thus far has been taking a hit. I'm bullish long term on this thing, but we'll see. I mean, the other thing pending here is that Google news that had that first drop with it. If that's true over the next couple of years, maybe that can make a dent here with Micron, but they feel like the leader in memory, and in my opinion, we're just getting started still with AI. So,
I think SK Hynix also has earnings today after market close. So that's one possibility of a bigger pop in MU. Right now, 890 to 900 is the resistance level on the short-term basis. One thing that I don't like about MU right now is it's definitely like, has a very thin structure and ran very fast to the upside. Yeah. So a little bit of consolidation here at the 20 EMA on the weekly isn't bad for MU. So as long as you don't see this 9 EMA recaptured on the weekly, you won't see the momentum to the upside. But at the same time, you would want to see some basing pattern here. If you see the 20 EMA like not holding on MU, there's a very high chance we'll see like 500 to 470 again on MU. So you have to keep an eye out for this 780 to 800 zone on MU. That is what you want to look out for. Again, I know a lot of people will ask me about SNDKs, but I want to talk about, I will tell you that SNDK is not something that I'm looking out for as a long-term hold or a good investment as well. It broke down and it has never recovered those trend lines, and it has been absolute stupid to think about this will bounce back. Probably to 1288 to 1290, 1300. That's where I would think about it. But then this thing has 950 to 720 kind of range to drop down to. It clearly dropped down. Like even if you look at the weekly time frame, it lost the 20 EMA. It's just not the type of investment I want to be in with respect to MU. So with respect to SNDK. But MU, on the other hand, like you said, it's a leader. The leader always looks better on the chart also. It's definitely holding the 20 MA on the weekly. Once you break that, that's your stop loss. But otherwise, I would want this stock to base a little bit going into 2027, and then we see all-time highs again to breaking it towards like 1500 to 1800 range as well on MU.
To wrap it up, my baby, Nebius, which unfortunately you've been corrected on. You said to watch it go down to, I think you said like 155.
Yeah.
Is that still what you're seeing here on this, or?
Yeah, I mean, this 155
go down to like 125.
No, I don't think it'll go down all the way there, but I think it can go like, probably to like 155, 154 to 135. That's the range that I'm looking at. I think if we have more selling tomorrow, day after, probably 155 to 140, 155 to 150. That's the range that I'm looking at. But I don't think that it'll go that low. But right now, the chart looks bizarre, though.
Yeah. Was fun on the run up, not so fun on the run down here. They have earnings August 6th, and I hope they absolutely just demolish it. Anthropic comes in, someone else comes in. I decided to that was one that I traded horribly. I think I had a ton of shares that where it became too inflated. Like you've had stocks like that too, where it's like, holy shit, this is like cranking into my top 3, top 2. And I'm like, all right, maybe this is more of a trade right now. But I did, what was the numbers? I think I sold at like 188, then rebought in when it popped back up here. And then I decided, all right, I'm done selling, done buying for a little bit. But if it does hit 150, like you're saying, 155, I'd probably add to that.
Average down a little bit. It's a good stock. It's not something like this is one of all these neo clouds, the same thing. It's the scare of leverage. And then, and then there's some macro stupid news that comes out, which basically kills out all the momentum for a few months. And then after that, again, everybody's on the hype and it starts running again.
Yeah. I mean, they have a bunch of subsidiaries too. That's like, a nice little cushion, diversifies it a little bit as well. And then, I just think that I think they'll go back up. I mean, it feels like a very well-run company, smart guys. We'll see on this earnings report. I think that will be very telling to see if they get more upfront money. I think one thing that's misunderstood with them is the contracts that they have with Meta and with Microsoft, it's like a team option from their perspective. They're the ones that can decide if they go through with it all, or they could take higher price from someone else. So it's a really good contract. Whoever wrote that for Nebius is a genius, because the only way they can get out, which I did dig in because Joey was grilling me on this, is if they can't build fast enough. But they have the plant here in New Jersey. They just signed another contract, I think, or a partnership with Bloom Energy and someone else too. So I'm liking this still long term, but I've been wrong before. So this is why we bring the pros on, like yourself. Anything else you want to touch on here, or we can wrap as well?
I think we can wrap for now, and we'll see what SK Hynix and FOMC, PCE, big tech earnings. We have to look at the market in the next few weeks.
I gotta give a shout out quick to Yerba Mate. I'm flying right now. I never drink it. It's got I guess 2 cups of coffee in it. I didn't realize. So I'm ready to go. But I have not eaten lunch yet, so we can wrap. And happy trading week to everyone. Hopefully we can come up off this little downfall in tech, and we'll make it happen. So see you next Tuesday. And moving forward, we have some good AI stuff here tomorrow. And I think we're going to be switching the day of AI, so stay tuned on that. But everyone, we will be back at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to follow at Problem Sniper on X as well as Instagram now. I don't think I follow you yet, so I will add that. And then follow us as well if you appreciate it. It's Daily Stack HQ on X. And then I think it's the YouTube's like @_. I'll have to figure that out. I should know that. Anyways, everyone have a great trading week, and we'll be back next week for you, and then tomorrow at 12:30. See ya.
Yeah.